Hi, everybody. I am so excited for today's episode. We are here with Shelly Jo Wahlstrom, and I'm going to turn the time over to her to actually introduce herself. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a certified addiction recovery and mental health nutrition coach, and I'm a hypnotherapist. I specialize in amino acids, and we're going to talk about my products and books in a minute. I'm a mother, and that's what got me down this road. If you are a parent, you understand that you would go to the depths of hell to help your child.
Absolutely.
My cute daughter, I have 3 daughters actually, but my youngest at age 6 was diagnosed with anxiety. And we did what all parents do. We got her on medication and took her to a counselor and thought we'd done everything we could to help her.
Yeah.
And at age 15, she come to me and these 6 words changed my life. And she said, "Mom, I'm tired of being a doctor's science project. I just want to feel normal." You ever thought those same words? I just want to feel normal. And with me, it broke my heart because I thought, well, wait a minute. I've done everything that I know of. And I felt defeated and I felt hopeless because I thought, I don't know anything else to help her.
Yeah.
And it was such a hard thing for me as her mom. And unfortunately, my cute daughter turned to drugs and alcohol just to feel normal. And it wasn't a world I understood. It made no sense to me. I was like, I could love her enough. I could ground her enough. Right. And then she'd stop and she didn't. And it didn't make any sense. And so we got her through high school and, each step along the way, I'm like, okay, this will be it. And I thought, let's take care of this now. Let's get her in a rehab center, pay thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then she'll come out clean from drugs and alcohol. We could be done with this part of our life. And, 30 days later, she did. She came out clean from drugs and alcohol, but she came out addicted to sugar, caffeine, and tobacco.
Yep.
And I thought, well, at least they're legal.
Yeah.
At least, yay, right?
Yes.
But we're done with the drugs and alcohol and my negativity. We can move on and life will be just great. She'll have this great future.
Yeah.
And little did I know that that was actually the beginning of my hell. Because 30 days later, she was introduced to meth by the roommate she had in the rehab center.
Oh, yeah.
And she was instantly addicted. And that's when my fear became because, meth is the drug of the devil and it changes every single part of you. I actually became afraid of my daughter. Every time she'd leave, I'd follow her phone because she didn't know I had her linked. But I was in such fear that I was going to lose her, that she was going to somebody herself, she was going to hurt me, or she was going to end up in jail.
Yeah.
And the first time she ended up in jail, I was actually relieved because I was like, oh my gosh, for the first time in years, I know where my daughter's at. And again, in my nativity, she gets out, "Mom, I'm going to stay clean." And I believed that she would stay clean. And I believe that she believed that she'd stay clean because why would you ever want to go back there? I mean, my thought was, if I went to jail, I wouldn't have to go back, right? And that was what I was thinking for my daughter. But I didn't understand addiction. And there's things I've learned about addiction since is that there's 3 things. First of all, nobody ever wants to be addicted to anything. They're usually self-medicating from trauma or mental or something. And they're usually just white knuckling it. So they're just holding on. So even when they're not using, they don't feel good.
Right.
And so I watched this process. She'd go along, hang on. About 6 months, she'd relapse. And then she'd end up in jail. And then she'd go along and she'd relapse and she'd end up in jail. And one of the times, as her mother, I actually had to call the cops and have her put in jail because I was being threatened. And that is not a call that a mother ever needs to make.
No.
I was in fear. And after her 4th time going to jail, I thought, what am I missing here? What is it that I don't understand about the brain and about addiction? And at the same time, I had these clients as a hypnotherapist and, they came with a desire to make a change. And, we'd work with them. I'd work with them. They'd have a great session. And I'm like, yes, we made these breakthroughs, these emotional breakthroughs. And then they come back the next week. It was like, I hadn't done anything. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Where's the disconnect?
It was a great session.
Mhm.
So then I do another session and it was wonderful. I'm like, yes, this was great. And then they come back and it's like 51st states. I'm like, what is going on? And not understanding, I just thought to myself, there's got to be a disconnect in the brain. There's got to be something chemically not allowing them to connect, to be able to let go of those emotional things. What is that? What I'm missing? And I have my daughter, and I'm like, okay, I got to have answers.
Yeah.
So I did the only thing I could do, and that was I prayed. I said, God, help me out. What am I missing? And 2 days later, there was a story on a local consumer report, guy named Gephardt, and he was doing a story about how they're using, in rehab centers, they're using these amino acids through an IV. And after 3 days, the cravings start to go away. And after 10 days, they're almost completely gone. They have an 85% rate of recovery. And I'm like, this is the answer. And it's only $1,000 a day. I'm like, well, can I have this answer? Like, what's that? Oh, how can I, I'll do whatever I can, but how do I tell my clients this great idea? It's going to cost you $1,000 a day. Exactly. Yay. So I did the next best thing. Dear Dr. Google, right? Find me a rehab center that instead of uses IVs with amino acids, uses supplements. And I found one in Florida. And I called this guy and I said, look, I'm a mother of a daughter who's struggling with addiction. I'm also a hypnotherapist. I have these clients. What can you teach me about amino acid therapy? And he's like, I can teach you everything. But in 2 weeks, we're having a training in Salt Lake City, which is 30 miles from my house.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. And that's when I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I went to this training and the things I learned about the brain was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Right? Feeding the brain what the brain needs, specific brain food, right? I feed the brain. What it does is it helps to those neurotransmitters, those really cool chemicals in the brain. You're happy, calm, feel good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and endorphin, and your blood sugar, which is very apparent when it comes to someone who struggles with addiction. And when they become depleted, then the brain says, wait a minute, right? And it can create symptoms and feelings of negativity, worry, stress, lack of energy, lack of sleep. When the brain feels this, it says, I want to feel better. And it would turn to something to feel better.
Yeah.
Right? And it almost like takes you hostage and says, feed me sugar or starches or caffeine or drugs. Or alcohol or behaviors like too much gaming, too much shopping, pornography, just to feel better.
Yep. Switching addictions.
You just go from one to another. Brain says, I want to feel better. And each of these cravings and addictions are linked to each of those neurotransmitters.
Right.
And when I learned about this, I got super excited. Actually, I got really angry because I'm like, this information has been out since the 90s. It was started by a lady named Julia Ross and some other like gurus in that field at the time. Well, my daughter was born in the 90s. So had I known about this when she was 6, she may not turn to drugs and alcohol at age 15.
On that note, how young can you start on amino
acids? You can start with children. Some of them you want to, you're going to want to half it down. And I would say, I'm not a doctor to prescribe, I don't diagnose, all those things. But in little increments, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Because I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there with kids who are bouncing off the walls, all the signs of ADHD. I know there's a lot of people out there that would be interested in learning this, but So you learned about this.
So I learned about
in Salt Lake.
In Salt Lake. And I got, first of all, I got angry. And I used that passion, that drive, because I'm like, I want to share this with everybody.
Right.
And then, the child that's struggling, like you said, or the teenager who's so addicted to their phone and their self-esteem is low, and or that parent who's just like, why couldn't I clean up? I want to share it with the world. And what I realize is, the population for addiction is like this, and it's huge, but it's still like this.
Yeah.
But when you take the people who are struggling, it's like this, like huge, right? And that's when I started sharing it.
Yeah.
And it just started to snowball, right? And then leading up to how I met you is we have a friend named Tammy.
Yeah.
You interviewed her, Tammy Ward, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
And I saw her, so I had worked with her a little bit earlier about, just in some energy things. And I saw her in December, because this was in November of 2017. And I saw her in December. We were at a concert. She's looking at ice cream, and I go up to her, Tammy, how are you? And she's like, I'm great. What have you been doing? I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this stuff I'm learning about that it can help you to reduce your cravings for sugar and caffeine and all this stuff. And she's eating this ice cream going, it's not great. Well, maybe we need to talk. Yeah, I told my sister, maybe we need to talk. And so we set up an appointment, and I'm working with her, and I'm like, this is what you need to take, and this is how you take it, and everything. And we're on this phone call, and she's like, you know what? Just tell me what to take. And, that was back in the dark ages of when Amazon first came out. And she's like, just go on Amazon, tell me what you get, and send me a link. And I'm like, a link? What's the link? I don't know what link is. And she's like, Shelly, it's that little thing in the corner. I'm like, Tammy, I can't find out. I don't know what link is. And she's like, why are you sending everybody to Amazon and to the health food store? Why don't you have your own product? I'm like, I don't know. Who does that? And then she's like, how would you like to speak at one of my conferences? And I'm like, oh, I would love to. And she's like, how about Mesa, Arizona? I'm like, okay. I've never done this before. My husband's not thrilled. He's upset. He's like, you don't even have anything going. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm going.
Right.
I'm going to step out and just say yes.
At some point in any endeavor, you get to that tipping point, and you have to just say yes and just do it and dive in, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to still be sitting there
Right.
years later going, oh, you know what? I should have done that. And that's what Tammy's good at. Tammy's good at, whoosh, here, you're out the nest now, right?
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
So you go, so you go to Mesa.
And I'm clueless. I don't have anything from my table. I'm looking for some even butcher paper, and I go find some flowers, and I'm like, a flyer? Like, I need a flyer? Okay. So I go to Staples down in Mesa, and my daughter comes with me because she said, Mom, you want somebody to come with you? I'm like, he's so much fun. Yes. I don't know what I'm doing. Make up this little flyer. And I go to this conference, and I don't even know what to talk about. I don't even know how to talk. I got there. I didn't even have a talk prepared.
Yeah.
And there's a lady, her name's Kristen Hicks, and she shows up like at midnight. We're all staying in this house. It's a new world. I knew nothing about all this energy stuff. And I'm talking to her, and I'm telling her about this, and she starts crying. She's like, my daughter needs this. And I'm like, I don't even have a talk. I know nothing. I don't know what to talk about. And she's like, share your story.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, but that's scary, because up until this point, I hadn't shared my story.
Oh,
Because it was scary. It was vulnerable. It was personal. It was like, wait a minute. What daughter? This is my daughter. This is my life. And I was really hesitant.
Yeah.
Until I got there and spoke.
So I'm gonna take it from here for a second, because oh my gosh. So I had made some major forced life changes, and that took me to New Mexico. And so I was in Dooney, which was only maybe 4 hours ish. So I see this come up on my email, and I'm like, I really miss that community. I really am craving to be around familiar people, right? And so I jumped in the car and I went over to Mesa. When you got up to tell your story, I was just drawn to you, and you start telling your story about your daughter, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this I could just see it was straight from the heart. It was absolutely authentic. Like you couldn't get more authentic than that.
Mhm.
I started being human.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, okay, I've got these clients and I'm a licensed massage therapist. So I started working with some people and the issues, the trauma was a lot.
Right.
So I knew that there was a place for energy work. I hear your story. I've lost a brother to alcohol and it really grabbed me. And I thought, if we would have had this stuff, if I would have known about this, I would have, but I mean, it has to be their choice. We all know this. But if they could understand, right? And you tell this story, and I followed you since, and to see the growth and the amazing just rocket takeoff, not even an airplane jet takeoff. It's just straight.
Straight to the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on. Where are we going? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're going somewhere.
Exactly. So I hear you speaking and I go back home. And in the meantime, you continue this rocket blast. Things just happening for you, one thing after another. So tell me a little bit about that. What happened after that conference?
So that conference was my pivotal moment because up until that point, I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get the word out, but I got some clients in Arizona and I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. People are going to pay me for this information. What? Yeah. And it just started going. And, you know, when I was in Arizona, I was talking to Kristen, she again said, why don't you have your own amino acids? And I'm like,
You can do that?
yes. So I got home and I'm looking it up and I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. I want to be able to be compatible with Amazon, right? And amino acids are meant to be expensive. But the problem I was finding is that all these companies that said they would make it for me were going to charge me more than what I could buy it on Amazon. I'm like, well, why would I do that? I can't compete, right? And I got to make some money. And then all of a sudden, I was telling this story to this lady who was a friend of mine. And she goes, I got a friend who is a manufacturer in American Fort.
Oh,
I'll put you in line with him.
yeah.
See what you can do.
Yeah.
So I went and met with him. He's like, yeah, we could do this. Next thing you know, I'm buying 500 bottles of 6 products. Don't know anything about it. I just know I want it. $15,000. My husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, but this has to be done. Right? And I ordered them. And that was in the end of February. And there was a big conference in April of that year. And they said, product to be done. Great. That's wonderful. The conference comes and they're not done. And now I'm in panic because I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have $15,000 on my credit card linked to this product. And now I don't have it.
Yeah.
And I was heartbroken. I mean, I was just sobbing thinking, what do I do? And the manufacturer's like, why don't you pre-sell them? I'm like, pre-sell? Pre-sell a product that nobody's even heard of before? No product.
Yeah.
I still haven't tried them.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were. And now you want me to have other people buy them?
Yeah.
Sight unseen. And I'm talking to my instructor who had taught me about the amino acids. Her name's Christina. That's a lot, which you and I both know.
Yep.
And I was telling her I'm going to this conference and I'm a hypnotherapist. And she's like, you have a niche. She goes, don't be surprised if somebody doesn't come up to you and say, hey, can you wholesale these? And I'm like, nah, that's not going to happen. No, it's not. Look at this conference. I have no product. I got a paper with a picture that says pre-order. And I go teach my class. And there's a guy in there named Mike Simpson. He was a hypnotherapist, him and his wife. And he comes up to me and said, you know, remember how you saw that show that led you on this? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I saw the same show. But instead of going with the amino acid supplements, I went with the IV. And it was so much money that I couldn't sustain it. And I've been looking for something like this for a year. Will you wholesale them with me? And I was like, you gotta be kidding. I'm like, that's funny. Now I gotta teach you how to use them.
Yeah, but you know, that's the beauty of when you trust. All that creator wants us to do is put one foot in front of the other. That's all. And then, you know, if you're a control freak like I used to be and kind of am letting go of, you kind of be like, well, I want to control or I want to know what the next thing is. That's where faith comes in, right?
Absolutely.
It's just, okay, I'm right here, creator, and I have no flipping clue what I'm doing. I'm just going to take the next step. And that sounds like kind of what you've done. I mean, look at that
Absolutely.
right there. A full seller.
Absolutely. Yes. So I was like, okay, I'll
Mhm.
create a program and I'm going to teach you how to do this. And at that conference, I ended up selling hundreds of dollars worth of my product. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I said, it's like, I felt like I was being pulled by angels. And I was just like holding on, going, I don't know where you're taking me.
Mhm.
Remember, I'm human. We can only run so fast. But I'm here and I'm willing.
Mhm.
And it just exploded. So
Yeah.
then I started a program and
Mhm.
I got wholesalers and I got
Mhm.
people that were using them because it's like a three-legged stool, like what we've been taught, right? Brain, body, and emotions. If you have a three-legged stool and that stool has all three legs strong, it can stand, right? It
Mhm.
stands.
Mhm.
But if one of those areas isn't strong, that stool can't stand. That three-legged stool. It's the same thing with us as humans. We have a brain and a body and emotions.
Mhm.
And one of those areas isn't up to where it needs to be, you're not going to have optimal health.
Right.
But when you have all three,
Mhm.
brain, body, emotions, then you're creating this optimal health pattern.
Mhm.
And I'm a hypnotherapist, that's my modality,
Mhm.
but the brain and the body could be used by any modality, any practitioner, chiropractor, Reiki, or body code or whatever,
Mhm.
because the modality can be different. But these two things are going to stay the same.
Yeah.
And so that's what I taught in my class.
Yeah.
You were there.
I was. I was super excited because I had just opened this being human and in a place where there really wasn't massage therapy or energy work, and people probably thought I was nuts. You like have such a high frequency, and I love it with the vibrant colors and just your personality. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like people don't want to step out in faith and do what their dream is because they're scared. Yeah, they're scared to be vulnerable. They're scared to say, you know what? Here's my icky story.
Yeah.
Here's my pain. Here's my sorrow. Here's all of this stuff. Here's my dirty laundry.
There you go. We're all happy.
Yeah, it's just hanging out left. And I think that's one of the reasons why I want to do this is to put this story out there to let people know, you know what? We're human.
Absolutely.
We're going to be fallible. We're going to fail. We're going to learn. There is no failure. There's
No.
learning.
Yeah, it's learning.
That almost sounded Yoda-ish. You need to know that what you do affects so many more people that you don't even know about. And I love that because that's why when we figure out why we're here, because we all have a purpose.
Right.
And if we don't live up to that, that's what I'm afraid of. It's like, what was I here? What did I promise, creator, that I would do here?
Right.
And I'm really, sometimes struggle with that. But there's so many things happening in this world today that if we don't have this kind of modality, or avenue to help others, what do we do? Right? So when you got those aminos made for just you, I absolutely adored, I still do. When you got these and you had them made, Shelly, you've given these each a name. And so this is, which one is this? I don't even have my glasses on. Oh, GABA.
GABA chill.
Yes. They named it chill. But I like that because when you have bottles that sort of look
They all
same,
look the same.
right?
Yeah.
But on there, we've got chill, we've got and then we've got positive sleep.
Positive sleep.
Yes. And then
You'll be happy. And then I have glutamine craving be gone. It's helpful with blood sugar, keep the blood sugar up. And then 5-HTP, positive mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got
And then we have a new GABA.
Yeah,
This is my new one. It's so good. So when I first started, I had GABA in a tablet. So GABA is a neurotransmitter.
Okay.
And it is to calm you down. So when you physically feel like uptight, overstressed, like not in your stomach, like you want to bite somebody's head up, like physically like panic, and you're like, whoa.
Yes.
GABA feeds GABA. And so because it doesn't have to convert to anything but GABA, it goes into your system quickly. So by having it as a tablet, which is what I had first, they could chew it and it would go into your system. You could feel a difference within 5 to 7 minutes. And then I got to a point where I couldn't find somebody to do the tablet anymore. So that's when I got a capsule.
Oh, yeah.
And the capsule works. It's great, especially if you know you need it. You can take it like often. Then taking the capsule would be a good option.
Right.
But then I kept thinking, okay, what is it that I want? And I thought to myself, I want like a pixie stick. I want it to be like, and this is crazy. And I don't know if you remember this. I did. But when I was younger, when I was little, my mom would give us dry jello. That was like a treat.
Oh, interesting. Like a pixie stick.
So you take your finger and you stick it in the gel and fridge them out with bread, especially if you like raspberry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a joy. Or you put it in your hand and you like,
Right.
so I'm like, that's what I want. A pixie stick. Like, it tastes like yummy, like yumminess, right? So we created this one and this is a flavored GABA powder. This is so fun. And I don't know if you're going to see it or not, because you probably won't see it if you're on a video. But it's got this little tiny scoop in it. It's just the right size. Like this. Okay.
Yeah.
And you just take it and you put it in your mouth.
That's it.
That's it. Straight to mouth. Everybody's like, do I put it in a drink? I'm like, no. It's just like candy. It's like candy. It's like a pixie stick. So then I was like, the first conference I had, I went down it. They didn't have a label.
Yeah.
But they were ready. And I thought, well, I'll take these down to St. George at a conference and at least let people try them. And I had 10 bottles, no label. So I stopped and picked them up and I took take one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to remind myself this is not candy. And I'm driving down to St. George and this calms you down, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
It does.
And I got down there and I gave samples and everybody wanted my bottles. They didn't have even labels on them. So it's kind of like the same thing that happened my first time, right? And I'm like, wow. And Tanny came up to me and she's like, you got any of that magic pixie dust? And I'm like, perfect. It's magic pixie dust. Yeah. And it tastes like candy and it works really fast. And it's amazing.
I know that a lot of people out there really like the biggest thing that I hear anymore is I have anxiety. I suffer from anxiety or that makes me so anxious or all that stuff. And so you can't just be like, oh, this is great for that. Because it's super important, I think, to really get online, which, what is your website?
It's hypnoaminos.com.
So HYPNO aminos.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Like Shelly Jo Hypno Aminos. It rhymes. That's how that's why
it's like that. I love it.
But it's Hypno Aminos. Yep. You go online.
And there's that questionnaire there.
It is. And it's could amino acids be your missing link? Is what it's just a super short little quiz. You just take it and then it tells you what would be maybe one of the first amino acids that you might want to start using. Or what is it a first neurotransmitter you want to like kind of dial into and see if, hey, you know what? Maybe this will make a difference.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll put that link in the description. Now I'm super thrilled because I want to talk about your book. Yay! It's called Feed Your Brain, Change Your Life. Tell us what people are going to learn from this.
So in Feed Your Brain, Change Your Life. So in 2020, when we could no longer go speak, I thought, I got to get this information out. And how can I do this? So that's when I started and I wrote this book. And I like to say it's a combination of has our story about why I got into this. It's sprinkled with quotes because I love quotes and how to. And so what it is it's the brain, body, and emotions and how each of the neurotransmitters work and how each of the amino acids work and how, the brain food how they feed the brain and what happens. And the cool thing is they're not meant to be on forever. They're meant to be on. It's like, I always say it's like you're going in with the fire hydrant to feed the brain with the amino acids and you're supporting with food. Because with protein, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The second question, people are like, well, why can't I just eat more meat? Why can't I eat just more protein? Well, it's because once you become depleted, you can't raise your neurotransmitter with extra food because you can't say, I need all this to go to my brain. It goes to your brain, your body, and all other places, right? So you're going to support it with the food. You're going to feed it with amino acids. And then as your brain starts to be fed and you need less of the amino acids, then you're going to get to a point where you're either going to not need them at all or need them at a maintenance. But then it is the food that's going to support you, right? But it talks about that. And it talks about nutrition. It talks about, vitamin minerals, because a lot of times when you're struggling, you're also depleted of just basic vitamin and minerals. So that's what the book talks about, is how the three of them, brain, body, and emotion, bring it in together. It's that simple.
Your other book?
Yeah. Crazy to Calm. So this is from Crazy to Calm, Natural Ways to Boost Your Mental Health.
Okay.
And it is a collaboration. There's 15 other authors
Mhm.
that came together.
Okay.
And it's kind of like Energy 101.
Okay.
And it was because when I went to the first energy healing conference I went to was in 2016, I knew nothing about this world.
Mhm.
And I came in as a hypnotherapist. And at the time, energy healers and hypnotherapists were like, oh my gosh, energy healers don't talk to the hypnotherapist. But that's beside the point. Because I thought I can learn from them. And I fell in love with this world. I was like, you guys are my people.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's a lot of people that are where I was. It's like this energy healing world is coming in and they're like, what is this about?
Mhm.
And what can I learn about it? So that's what this book is about.
Okay.
That's, isn't that
Awesome.
cool?
Yes.
I know. And then this same one is Spanish.
Yeah.
So it's been translated into Spanish.
Mhm.
I don't speak Spanish, so I just hope that it says what it's supposed to.
Change your brain, change your life.
Change your life. Yep.
Yep.
And it's interesting because it really is that simple, right? My friend, she's like, you're like that staff that has the snakes on it, right?
Mhm.
That, in the Bible, they talk about how was it Moses? I hope it was, maybe. But I don't know who it was. I think it was Moses. They had the staff, right? And all the people had to do was look up at it.
Yeah.
And they were healed. And many of them died because they just wouldn't look up and look at the staff. And I'm like, she's like, that's all they need to do is just
take it.
Just take them. Yeah, just take them.
It's that simple.
That simple.
Yeah.
And I mean, some have to be tweaked, right? Because some people, there's other things going on, but for the most part, when you feed the brain, it's amazing what will happen.
Yeah, totally. Just am so grateful that not only was I able to meet you and hear your story, but to use your products. It's just so life changing. Knowing people who suffer from addiction or who are in recovery or have been for quite a while now, one of the biggest things is, having this addiction to meth or alcohol or whatever, and then coming clean or cleaning their whole system. Getting clean doesn't just mean eliminating the drugs. Getting clean means eliminating and rebuilding yourself. But I see them with candy or soda. I mean, and it's just, we've switched addictions from the drug to sugar. Getting off sugar is super hard. And that's really, alcohol turns to sugar. Most of it turns to sugar in our body anyway, right? But getting off soda, it was the glutamine that really helped. So I've tried to lead as much as I possibly can, a mostly sugar-free existence, right? So if anyone out there is struggling with any of this, talk about low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Just pluck this from the amino tree. Feed your brain.
And just see the brain.
Absolutely. We know how to get a hold of you. We know that there's a questionnaire, there's a book. So there's absolutely no reason anyone couldn't get started on their own with this. Right. But if any of you really want to come and hear Shelly speak in person, where is your next place?
I actually am not doing the one in June because my daughter, the one that we talk about, is getting married.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
Everything always turns out. It always doesn't turn out what you think. But there was a time when I didn't think she'd live to be 30. So when she got engaged, I cried because I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't something I ever dreamed of for her because it was such a hard journey.
Yeah.
I didn't know how she was going to get out of it. So she's getting married.
That's
the day before the conference. But the next ones will be in September, October, November.
And you've sort of branched out into other arenas as well because you were at the Be Healthy Utah conference. I went to the gun show the next day and still saw this stuff up there. And I was like, that's where Shelly was.
Yes, I was.
I always ask, what's your story? What inspires you? And I can see what inspires you, right? So what is your legacy?
What is my legacy is, well, before I want to say that, I want to add one more thing because some people look at this and they go, well, wait a minute. I'm still into this. I can't get off the sugar. I can't get off the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm on medication or whatever. It's not an either or, it's an and. Right?
Yes.
It's let's take you where you are right this minute. Figure out how I can help you so that then you can start to have more choices. And I feel like that's really important.
Absolutely.
For people to understand that because then it's like, oh, okay, right? You don't have to stop this and then hope this works. It's let's do this together, right? And then figure out how to, as the brain starts to heal, then you have options, of what you want to do. My legacy is I'm very passionate what I do because I've seen miracles. They're not magic, so if you don't take them, they're just really pretty bottles on your shelf, right? It's like, yay, they are pretty. They got a really cool label.
Yeah.
But I have seen miracles, and it's so exciting to me. I had one of the people who buys the stuff from me. She sent me this text and said, "My daughter is struggling. All she wants to do is cry, and I don't know how to help her." And at the time, it was during winter, so we were coming out of winter blues, and I'm like, maybe if you give her some 5-HT and some DLPA happy, and then let me know. She's like, "Great, I have some." And the next day, I got a text from her that said, "Holy bleep, 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 bleep." I gave her one dose, one set of them, and she's been happy all day. And that is what continues to drive me. It's like, I want people to see that they have options.
Yeah.
Right? Miracles come a weird way. I mean, this is not anything that I would have ever dreamed at all, and it went from a really hard story of how do I help my daughter to now, how do I help the world? But answers come. And the reason this is so powerful is because life matters. Your life matters. My life matters. Your life matters. And that's what this is all about, is taking control of your life, right? Take control of your life and you'll be amazed of what can happen. And the last thing is live boldly. 2020, when I was writing my book, I also went roller skating and broke my wrist. And at the time I was like 55, now I'm 61, and everybody's like, "You're too old to do that stuff." I'm like, what? And that's when I decided, wait a minute, live boldly. Live boldly, right?
Yes.
What you're doing is reaching out and getting out of your comfort zone. I'm getting out of my comfort zone because life really is worth it.
Yes. It is.
It
It
is.
is. Shelly, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I love you. I'm so grateful for
Thank you.
you, for your mission, I'm grateful for your daughter.
Yeah, me too.
And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm grateful for her struggles, because without that, none of us would be where we're at,
Thank
you know? And thanks so much for giving us your time. So
You're welcome.
if anybody wants to reach out, Shelly's amazing. She's worked with me, my daughter, and I'm just really grateful. We'll put your contact information in there, your
Okay.
website. And then you have all the places that are upcoming on your website, right?
I do. But right now, like I said, it'll be after the wedding.
So after June. Yep.
After June.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.